All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, November 14th iteration of the Kubernetes SIG-Windows community meeting. As always, these meetings are recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so be sure to adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. Last week was canceled for KubeCon, so I think we could just jump right into this meeting today. First announcement is the 129 test freeze is today. I think we'll probably spend some time today looking and seeing if there's any PRs that we need to try and get merged for test freeze. And I believe the docs freeze is also coming up. So we can just do a quick check on that too with everybody. Does anybody else have any other announcements? All right, it doesn't look like so. Next, we usually give some space if there's any new contributors on the call who want to introduce themselves or say hi. I believe everybody here is, or nobody here is new. But I'll still pause for a minute. All right, and I think we can get on to our agenda now. If anybody has anything else they want to discuss, feel free to add it to the agenda. I see the KubeCon report just came out. Let's get started with the test freeze PRs, though. I think we were just saying or discussing in the triage meeting before this that there's a couple of issues. I think that the HPA tests are, we're waiting for some backports for the GMSA and HPA tests. That's not subject to test freeze, but we'll try and ping those. Then there were a couple for test freeze. Fix issue with client rate limiter polling. Is this the HPA one that you were just mentioning, James?
Yep. This isn't Windows specific. It's actually looks like the CI jobs for SIG auto scaling are failing as well. And the PR job that they have was also failing. So yeah, so I got some feedback last night, so I gotta look at it and I'll try to update it right after this meeting.
Go make a. Okay, sounds good. Are there any other PRs for test freeze? We can just take a quick look at Kubernetes. Make sure that there's not any that we want to include.
There is the node log query one, I think, that you added the milestone to work, and I got it approved by Renal, so we should be good there.
Okay. Does that one have SIG-Windows labeled on it? I thought it had SIG just node and testing.
Yeah, given that I didn't add the Windows test to that PR, I didn't mark it as SIG-Windows.
Do you know the PR number real quick?
Yeah, I do. I'll post it.
Maybe it merged. Okay, so we'll look at that. Here's the cherry pick tests. This doesn't look like it's code freeze from. Okay, I'm just looking for ones with testing. So these are all the testing the webhooks. What about this one? Let me trigger the. Why does this one need okay to test? One already has all the test report results. Should we spend a minute on this? James, I think we both looked at this. It looks like you were reviewing it more recently. Do we think that we want to?
Oh, yeah, I think we can. It doesn't make it pass or fail from our perspective. I think they were seeing some issues inside their network. Yeah, it's not critical, but it could go in. I guess there's no reason not to put it in.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that this has like still has the needs okay to test label, even though all the tests ran.
Oh, does it? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So I think we can, this is all just test code.
Yeah.
Yeah, how did these tests start? Oh yeah, I ran into this too when I was fixing some tests about the. Okay, we can take another quick close test. What is this one? I think this one might also be ready to go. This one looks like we should probably just try and include it too. Do you think, James?
I haven't seen this one actually, so
Hmm.
it still has the W like work in progress, but I guess we could rename it.
Yeah, let me.
And it looks like we need to rerun the test, like the Windows CAPC test. Probably want to do that just to make.
Will retest trigger the past jobs? Or like passing jobs, or probably not.
They said it was retired with no replacement or something.
When did this go in? Because there was August 8th. I think we probably weren't. Well, I think we made the changes to make sure we were building the right ED test in the pull request jobs after this change. But yeah. I think we'll look at see if there's anything else real quick, and then if not, we'll. I think this one we can close, right? I think these got addressed by a different PR. Okay, just more of the unit tests one. These have some slight code changes, but nothing significant. All right, let's let's see if there's anything else in the agenda that we want to do, and then we can talk about this. Did this merge, Arvind? Yes, it did. Okay, good.
Yeah,
so
that merge, I think.
So for this one, we still need to come in and add the Windows unit tests, correct? Or Windows ED tests?
So Windows ED, yeah, I'm actually working on that. What I'm actually trying to do, Mark, is to fix what we discussed during KubeCon, which is to get the feature gate and the option enabled for the Linux nodes, the Linux control plane.
Right.
So I'm working on that first, and then I'll follow that up with some Windows tests.
Okay, I will update the PR that I have open in Windows testing to make sure that we specify the feature gates for the control plane nodes in the right spot.
Oh, are you doing that? That's what I was trying to do.
I've got it. I've got the PR open and
Okay.
adding it for the join command. I'll just add it to the init command too right after this meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
and then we can.
You'll also need that script that looks the Windows equivalent script in Linux that looks to see, okay, the feature gate is there now. I need to add the CLI or the kubelet option.
Let's do that as a separate PR because we can add this.
Or why don't we do this, Mark?
Specific for the node log query. The other one was just making sure the feature gates are set.
Okay, all right, that's
Yeah.
fine.
I'll make sure the feature gate is set, and then if you want to add the script to do the node log or to set the kube config too, we can.
Yeah, sounds good.
Or we can sync up offline. Okay. All right, James, did you add this?
Yeah. So there's another CVE that came out that's announced this morning. I just wanted to bring it to folks' attention. It was inside the volume mount utilities for Windows. And I think there's a link to the CVE itself, but essentially there was a privilege escalation. And so this is the PR to fix it. It's switching instead of execing out to command to call some command line tools. It's just using the Go libraries themselves. So check it out. There's backports for all of the supported versions of Kubernetes.
Excellent. Thanks for bringing this to Brett's attention. Yeah, I think we kind of discussed this a little bit at the KubeCon talk too, but we've had a number of CVEs in the Windows code, all mostly related to storage stuff and mostly related to calling out to PowerShell or command line stuff too. I think possibly after test freeze, we should maybe try and do a scrub of all of the code and see if we can use some of the Golang libraries again. I know that for there were some reasons why we didn't use Golang or other libraries, and I believe some of those issues have been addressed, like in the Go WinIO library or the Golang core packages. So I'll try not to. I'll add that to the agenda for possibly sometime in early December to discuss more about that. But thanks for. Yep. So everybody, patch your Windows clusters. You do that. I think next was kind of discuss some of the Windows documentation overhaul. I did see, KubeCon reports next. Yeah, we can do a little bit of a KubeCon report. Did you want to have any comments on that, Arvind? Do you want me to give some thoughts? Did you have anything specific you were wondering about, James?
No, I know you were both there, so it'd be nice to hear how it went.
I guess Arvind,
yeah, I can give my thoughts after you go, Mark.
Well, I was going to say, since it's your first KubeCon, why don't you?
It's not my first KubeCon, but first KubeCon as SIG chair and presenting, I guess. So I think take the technical side of things about it was really good to see folks that like Mark, whom I've worked with for many years now, but never met in person, and this extended to even people in my company in Red Hat. So that was actually in many ways the best part of KubeCon. One of the things that stuck out in this KubeCon is, of course, people are taking AI ML very seriously, and there's been a push for running AI ML workloads on Kubernetes. So there was a separate track, kind of like a AI ML unconference within KubeCon itself. That is, you need a KubeCon badge to attend that even, but it was almost like a conference within a conference, which is very. I attended a few sessions. It was very ad hoc. They were trying to come up with talks on the fly, but it just showed that the attention of AI ML is now, they're trying to run a lot of their workloads on Kubernetes. So we should keep an eye out to see, is there anything on the Windows side that can be leveraged or can be used for running AI ML workloads. The other feedback I got was, in fact, very surprisingly about node log query, which we spoke about briefly. People want to use kubectl somehow to run it, is what the feedback I got. Folks are not really happy about using the raw command, so which means I or someone else needs to write up that kubectl plugin, which will allow people to make that happen. So that's also on my to-do list. Those were my main takeaways. I also attended a very interesting talk about where they're talking about security posture within Kubernetes, and the statement was it's not enough if you make your containers read-only as a security benefit. The attack that they were showing is to show that how the dev termination log is actually marked as exec, and so they created this sort of attack where they had busybox wget inside the container, and they used busybox wget to write to this dev termination file, and then they executed that file because it's that only is marked as exec. So that was another interesting thing that they were talking about. And in general, there is a little bit of angst in the Kubernetes community about how complicated Kubernetes is getting. Tim Hawkins' keynote was mainly focused on that. Is Kubernetes is getting complex. What do we do? There were quotes from a bunch of people. So once those talks become public, I encourage folks to go and see that. I'll hand it to you, Mark.
Yeah, I noticed some of the same things, like the AL or the AI ML workloads. I know on the mailing list somebody even just kind of threw out proposing a new SIG for specializing in AI workloads. There were some interesting, like I know at the contributor summit specifically, the batch working group said that there's tons and tons of work that they want to do for batch jobs in order to support this space too. And if anybody's interested in that too, they were looking for people to help out with that too. That's not really specific to Windows, but it could benefit Windows too. But yeah, there's definitely a big interest in that. I did see there was a lot of talks and a lot of hallway conversations around security again. And I know the security response team asked me and Arvind to add a little slide into the Windows talk about how to, like, more information about how to responsibly report any security vulnerabilities, and also just more information about how Kubernetes handles security and stuff in general. And I saw James open a PR to make sure that the Windows stuff was actually in the SIG securities purview or something like that.
Oh yes, I meant to bring that up today.
Okay, maybe
let me find that PR
in a minute, and then we can do that too. And I did see there's a number of kind of CNCF projects related to security. One of them was Eraser. I went to a talk on Eraser, which was a way to kind of do real-time scanning and deletion of containers that had security vulnerabilities, which was interesting. And at the end, people asked for like Windows help getting that running on Windows too. So there is some people interested in that. I'll add a link to the project in here in a minute. I was going to say one other thing, but yeah, I think those are some of the big points. I think there was a lot, even outside of the Kubernetes is getting really complex. There were more talks at the main KubeCon about why it takes so long to get features in and the KEP process and things like that too. So I think that there's definitely a kind of a sense that it's the project is mature. We need to make sure we don't break things, and that does add complexity to the project, and just kind of making sure everyone's aware. I know Cortana just had a experience going through the KEP process as a fairly new Kubernetes contributor, and it can be daunting, and there's a lot of deadlines and stuff to track. So that's good too.
Were there any specific Windows talks that we should check out? That were on the agenda? I didn't quite look at that.
Outside of the SIG-Windows talks, I didn't see any other specific talks specific to Windows like last time, where there was some of the performance talks and then the those process containers talks that we didn't, and things like that. But yeah, I didn't see any. Did you, Arvind?
There were no Windows specific talks. I did a pretty good sweep of the schedule. I didn't find, there was the only one was the one that Mark and I gave. There was nothing else. But I think in the future we should try and, especially like Kirtana is doing this sort of, multifaceted things that touch multiple components. I think it would be really useful if you can, send out a. So I think the deadline for the talk for Paris is, I think, today or tomorrow. So
Yeah, I think it's coming up.
yeah, but those are the kind of things that we can, in the future, think about having a talk about.
Did you guys hear? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was also saying vertical pod autoscaling is also another one, Mark. If we can have a talk in place, I mean.
Yeah. I think that there was another.
Sorry.
From Vinay, and I know that the tests, like the Windows tests for that, all landed this release. So, and I think the feature finally went alpha officially this release too. So that's good that we have support for that. I think there's a lot of interest in that for probably ML workloads too.
Yeah, sorry, Kirtan, go ahead.
Did you guys hear anything about like the whole streaming failure and stuff in person in KubeCon? Like a lot of talks don't have any recordings. Even on Thursday, a bunch of them had streaming issues. And even when you open the recording, it's just the last 1 minute or 2 minutes when the streaming came back up. So we missed your talk and Containerd 2.0 talk, a whole bunch of them.
I didn't hear any of that at the conference, except from what Arvind relayed from you.
Yeah, they disabled the chats too, so we weren't like able to ask questions or like reach out to the organizers.
Okay.
Did you see anything on the CNCF Slack about this? That's where we can go and check. That's
the
where,
first day, yeah, like there was a lot of discussion in the chat, and then I think folks were like pinging the CNCF Slack channel, and then the organizers like disabled it for the rest of the conference.
Oh wow, the
Kubernetes
chat. Slack, like sorry, the CNCF Slack.
No, the chat that comes up when you attend like virtual KubeCon. So there's like an interaction box that you can have.
Yeah, what I was thinking about is whether they were talking about this on the CNCF Slack, which is where they'll sometimes talk about events and things like that and issues with events. I remember in one of the KubeCons, I had some trouble, again, attending this virtual event, and I had to go and ask for help there. So
yeah, like I do see
we'll
the
take a look.
KubeCon channel, right? Yes, there are a whole bunch of people who are talking about it.
I think I got logged
out.
I'll have to log back in and double check, but that's a really unfortunate. Those talks I think are usually extremely valuable for like having recorded on YouTube. I know like personally I've sent lots of different people to previous KubeCon talks, especially when we were doing more deep dives like on networking and container runtime and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out, Kirtan. My hope is they had like, I don't know, 2 streams going. And I'm hoping that they were able to record using not just the live stream, but there was somebody in the room taking that video, right? So I'm hoping they had like a local backup or something that can be leveraged. We'll see. We'll figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I actually think that's kind of approaching the end of the meeting. Does anybody have anything else they want to discuss? Oh, I know next week too is another like the week of a US holiday. I will be out of town. I don't know if we want to cancel the meeting or not for folks. I guess we could discuss on Slack if James or Arvind, if you're here to host it, or if there's going to be anybody here, or if we should just cancel.
Yeah, I can be around. It's not a holiday in Canada, so I'm not doing anything. But I think given the number of participants that we've been seeing in the last couple of weeks, I'm assuming most of the folks I see like on today's call, I think everybody is in the US other than for me. If that's the case, I'm open to canceling it.
Okay, we can make a final decision or final discussion on Slack and stuff. But.
Yeah, I did put the link to the security Windows audit issue. We can talk about it next week.
Yeah.
But if anybody
if it's quick, we can talk about it now.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at it. They merged it, so it's at least on their radar. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So this is kind of ideas of what they want to do for the next. Is TBD meaning the next future one?
For the next audit that's coming up, I think in the new year. And so they were looking and sourcing ideas. So a lot of these things cover Windows, but I wanted to call Windows out as a specific area to focus in on, especially with a couple CVs that we've had over the last time period. And so I put in links, they just put in links to the various areas. And so I called out some of the ones that were very specific to Windows. And hopefully we can get somebody to take a look.
Let's discuss this next week too, because I know we're kind of at the end of the meeting, but I'm wondering if we should add things like HCS shim and related components that are really core to Windows functionality, but not necessarily in the Kubernetes repository. But I'll add that as an agenda item for the next time.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody. I think, James, you're going to have to cancel the recording. Oh, I can.